working on a construction project in California, you'll definitely want to make sure that you send a preliminary notice on every project, because if not, you won't have your right to file a lien or a bond claim if you don't get paid later on. In this video, we'll walk you through everything you need to know about California's 20-day preliminary notice, and we'll also touch on best practices, common mistakes, and FAQs. What is a California 20-day preliminary notice? For those of you who aren't sure what a California 20-day preliminary notice is, it's a document sent by contractors, suppliers, and vendors on both public and private jobs in the state of California to share important project information with one another and secure the right to file a mechanics lien. Why send a California preliminary notice? As we've just mentioned, sending a preliminary notice is required to maintain your right to file a lien or bond claim in California. On top of that, you can actually be fined under California's construction law unless the work you perform is less than $400. However, this is just one of many reasons. Preliminary notice promotes visibility to prevent payment issues from developing into bigger problems, and statistically speaking, the companies that send preliminary notices get paid faster than those that don't. Who must send and receive? California requires contractors, suppliers, and vendors to send preliminary notices on all projects within the state. That includes both private and public projects. But there are some subtle differences in the requirements depending on the type of project involved. Let's start with private projects. Private projects include all commercial, residential, and industrial projects that are not financed by any government entity. On private projects, if you're a subcontractor, material supplier, or equipment lessor, you must always send a 20-day preliminary notice. The notice must be sent to the property owner, the GC, and construction lender if there's one involved. If you're a GC, you're only required to send a preliminary notice if there is a construction lender lending to the project. Next, let's talk about public works projects. Public projects include all government, state university, city, municipal, and county work, but do not include federal projects. Federal projects are regulated differently and do not require notices. On public projects, GCs do not need to send preliminary notices. But if you're one of the other project participants, such as subcontractors, suppliers, and vendors, you'll need to send the preliminary notice to the public entity commissioning the work, the GC, and the surety if known. Keep in mind that there are some exceptions and details that we're not able to cover in a short video, so make sure you check out the links we've included in the video description to learn more. How to find the owner, the lender, the GC, or the surety. When preparing your California preliminary notice, one of the most difficult tasks is figuring out the identity of different parties on your job, particularly for lower-tiered subs and suppliers. One easy way to find all this information is to send a request for information. This is a pretty strange process when you step back and really think about it. What happens here is that you'll send a request to another party that you know is working on a project and ask them for information about other parties on the project, such as the owner, lender, surety, etc. When you get a response, you can then transcribe the information onto your 20-day notice and send it to the required parties, which often includes the party you got all of this information from. While this practice might sound silly, it's good practice for contractors and suppliers in California to follow, because honestly, there just isn't a ton of ways to get this information. Manually requesting it like this frequently works, and more importantly, if you never get a response, it helps to protect you against non-payment. What information should be included? Securing your lien rights in California can be messy, but let's focus on what you can do to best meet the requirements and protect yourself. You'll want to make sure you include all of the following in your preliminary notice: name and address of the owner or reputed owner, name and address of the GC, name and address of the construction lender, if any, description of the site sufficient for identification, including the street address of the site, if any, your name, address, and project role, your hiring party's name and address, general statement of the work provided, an estimate of the total price of the work to be provided, and the required notice information in bold-face type that looks like this. When do I send a California preliminary notice? After you have everything you need in your California preliminary notice, let's talk about when you should send it. As the name suggests, the notice should be sent within 20 days of first furnishing labor and/or materials. You should always try to send these notices on every project as soon as you can get the project information. Here are 2 common questions about sending a California preliminary notice. 1. Can you send preliminary notices early in California? Can I send a preliminary notice before I begin furnishing? The clear answer in California is yes. It's fine to send preliminary notices early. Well, a similar question is, can I send a notice late in California? And the short answer is, it's better late than never. A late notice will only protect lien rights for the preceding 20 days from when the notice is sent. For example, if you send a preliminary notice on day 25, your mechanic's lien won't cover any labor or materials provided on days 1 through 5, but you are good to go from day 6 to the end of the project. It's only too late to send a preliminary notice in California if your work ended more than 20 days previously. Also, it's important to keep in mind that in California, the preliminary notice requirement is considered met once the notice is deposited in the mail in the proper manner. Actual delivery isn't required to happen within the 20-day notice period. How do I send a preliminary notice in California? These are the steps you should follow. Step 1. Send your preliminary notice by certified or registered mail, express mail, or overnight delivery by an express service carrier. Step 2. Make and keep the required declaration of delivery. A crucial step that a lot of construction companies forget is to fill out, sign, and keep the declaration of delivery for your records. A declaration of delivery is a signed affidavit where you identify yourself and state that the notice was sent, who it was sent to, and how it was sent. The reason this is so important is proof. If your lien winds up getting challenged for improper notice, this declaration would be all the proof you need. In addition to this document, you're required to include at least one of these supporting documents. If sent by registered, certified, or express mail, A, a receipt for payment U.S. Postal Service, or B, tracking number and records delivery confirmation or any other time of record of delivery or attempted delivery from the USPS. If sent by an express service carrier, A, a receipt for payment from the express courier service, or B, tracking record or other documentation showing delivery or attempted delivery, C, the certified or registered mail tracking number and log of the status changes in the delivery. And lastly, step 3, pay attention to returned mail items and take quick action. Even though the California preliminary notice requirement is considered met when you send the notice, it doesn't let you off the hook to get the notice actually delivered. When the rubber meets the road, you'll need to get that preliminary notice actually delivered. So if you can't get it done, then it's important you're able to show that you tried really, really hard. Meaning that you've done some additional work to figure out why the delivery failed and you've taken corrective action. We hope this video has been helpful. Please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment down below and let us know what other construction payment topics you want us to cover. And subscribe to our channel if you want to see more construction payment videos. Don't forget, we're always here to take the stress out of sending these required documents, and you can actually send a preliminary notice for free through Levelset. Just click the link we've included in the video description. And remember, payment help is here.